Hello and good morning. Thanks for joining us. Wow. And thank you to Kevin. This will be a fun morning. I kind of want to line it out first, and then I'm going to jump in. I got a lot of things that I've been thinking about, and I want to talk about those things. But I wanted to let you know later today we're going to have on Sylvia Hampel. She was on last time I was on as well, and she runs a Clearview Cleaning, which is a ginormous company that she started by cleaning toilets herself as a single mom. Super successful lady, and we're going to have her on again. This time, though, another close friend of mine, Sylvia is a close friend of mine, and a longtime friend of this program is Dan Long. He's going to join us, too, with A1. I know, raising there going, I haven't seen Dan in a long time, so that'll be great. But anyway, they'll both be on, and we're going to talk business. We're going to talk, what kind of characteristics, because these two folks started with nothing, built up a business, and kind of went from tradesmen to businessmen. How do you do that? These kinds of questions. And the neat thing is that they don't really know neither of them asked what I was going to ask. So we'll just see how it goes. It should be a fun conversation. Three close friends. We'll see what happens today. And, of course, I've got Reverend Bill coming in because, I can't really let it go. I got to, rescue mission's amazing, and I can't miss any opportunity I have to try to highlight them. So we're going to bring them in later on today. But right now, I really want to kind of open up the dialogue really with you and talk about what you want to talk about. We've got everything from markets hitting all-time highs, right? Markets hitting all-time highs. We've got, even if you want to get on a discussion here about what's going on with, I should say, characteristics of a millionaire. What do they look like? What do our millionaire clients have in common? They really have a lot of common traits. But I think they have an awful lot of common traits that not just because they have $1 million or are financially independent or what have you. They're traits that are successful traits in life. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Why is the market so negative all the time? When we talk about sentiment in the market, why so negative all the time? And yet, when you see some of the statistics, when people are trying to make a case, here's for example, like I can't remember if this was Monday or last week, it was Monday's Wall Street Journal. Okay, the 8 best predictors of the long-term market, all of those are not good. This has not been good for 3, 4, 5 years. Stocks are overvalued. I know they're overvalued. Okay, year after year, they're overvalued. They just keep going up. Right? I mean, this is just this constant discussion, dialogue, like it's news to report the same thing you reported 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 months ago, to tell us that stocks are overvalued, that they're not going anywhere, to scare people out of the market. When the reality is, there are lots of indicators that stocks aren't at all too expensive. We can talk about that if you want to. Talk about whatever is on your mind. But we've got an incredible economy, an incredible jobs market. Wages are rising. We have stocks like Apple hitting $1 trillion in valuation. And yet we look at everything as if it's world ending. Why? I think that's don't you think that's a big question? Why? Why do we see things that way? And why are we so irrational about things? What I mean by irrational in this case is, why don't we see things clearly? Now, I get that most people, maybe all of us to a degree, how about all of us to a degree, absolutely find what we're looking for. So we find in the news what we're looking for. We find the data points, we mine them and mine them and mine them. But let me give you an example. Socialism has never worked anywhere ever. Never. It's tried all the time. It never works. Ever. And yet all the young people think this is a good idea. Not all. Many of the millennials think that socialism is a great idea. How is that even remotely possible? Because all the evidence says it's just a really stupid idea. It won't work. So we're going to try it again. It's not rational. It just isn't rational. how we invest and save and grow money there's clear indications of how you should do that. How do you become rich? A, B, C, you're there. That's it. I mean, these are simple, logical steps. We don't do it. So when we talk about being irrational, I'm just saying, why are we stuck? What's the matter with us? Why, for example, if you're a doom and gloomer, and many people are, and you've been wrong basically for your whole life, and you continue to read the same people, listen to the same people, look for end-of-world signs, for example, right? We all know people like that. This looks like signs of the end times, right? Just like they said when Hitler was around, when the Roman Empire was around. I mean, it just goes on. That's no way to live life, right? But what does that have to do with finances? Everything. If you're not living, if you're not believing that the future will be somewhat okay, why would you invest? Why would you start a business? Why would you get an education? Had a fascinating conversation. Maybe Dan and I will bring this up later, Dan Long, with his kids, his millennial kids, right? Talking about, having kids and things like that, and how multiple generations are like, I'm not going to raise a kid in this world. It's a terrible world. And I'm looking around going, what's terrible about this? What's so terrible about your life that you would think, I don't really want to even start it? Not everybody's like that, but that's really not rational. Is it the education system? Kind of, yeah. Right. If we want things to take over. So here's what I want to start with today, though. I want to start with, is there really a retirement crisis? Now, why would I want to start with that today? And you can change directions. Pardon me, it's a little early in the morning. So if we want to change directions, go right ahead. But this is one thing that I think underlies a lot of what's going on out there. When we think about big government, we have to create a crisis. So I ask you this, is there a crisis in retirement? And of course, the statistics say, yes, there is. People aren't saving enough. It's a horrible thing. It's unbelievable. It's like this new thing. We're discovering that, you can't retire on $100,000 in a 401k. Weird. It's so weird. But it's not a lot of money to last you for a 30, 40-year life expectancy after retirement. Well, I don't want to live for that. Oh, yeah, that's great. Great and groovy, but you will. People want to get their Social Security check when they're 62 years old instead of letting it grow until 70. Messes up their retirement. Is there a crisis, though? Well, I remember in the golden age, like, back in the 40s, when everybody had a pension. Remember that? Everyone had a pension. Now, that's wonderful to think about. Everyone had a pension at age 65 for the 10% of the people that lived that long. Hardly anybody did. But let's pretend everybody did, and that was the golden age. Is it really true? Half the country had no pension. Did you know that? Half the country had no pension. None. The golden age. Yeah, but no, don't yeah, but. Just think about that. So the golden age, half the country had no pension. By the way, half the country had no 401k. Nothing. Nobody invested. What golden age, I ask? What golden age? So, is it overblown? No. Financial advisors like me have been screaming and yelling about the fact that you got to save money, you got to start young, you got to put it away, you got to let it compound, and you have to invest, and you have to leave it alone. That's what you have to do. And people won't listen. It's not even hard. In a whole world of amazing abundance, we would rather go to the bar and get lit up every night with our friends than to put anything away. Like only do it 3 nights a week. There's so much money in this world. People are making tons of money. If you don't have a job, you're not looking for a job. Sorry. Everybody has a job. Everything is cheap. Well, no, it's costly. Listen, I'm not going to go back centuries and talk about this, but you understand that people used to have to work hours of a day to get a little bit of kerosene to light a lamp. You light your whole house now for a few minutes a day of work on average. Food costs nothing compared to what it used to. It just goes down every year. Cost of everything relative to GDP, in other words, money we have, is going down. Not up. Okay, well, healthcare, you're right. We've really mucked up healthcare. But picking out one thing doesn't make it a fact overall. So when we think about this, yes, we have to save money. But I'm asking this question because you see it coming up once in a while. And I'm not just picking on Nancy Pelosi, but she brought it up not long ago and has brought it up multiple times. We need to protect people from themselves and confiscate the 401ks. Now, confiscate maybe is a harsh word because what it really implies is they're just going to take it away from you. But they are. They'll manage it for you. Right? Does that make any sense? To let the government do this for you. Isn't that what a retirement crisis is? Isn't that really what Ron Manuel said? Don't let a crisis pass us by. You have to take advantage of them. That's how you change. I think that the government would love to take over retirement. Don't you? Do we have to do a better job educating? Yeah. But I think we've taken education completely out of the schools. I don't think they educate at all about economics. Do you? Otherwise, how is it possible to become 18 years old with 12 years of school and not know what a stock is, not know what the stock market is or what its function, basic function? I'm not talking about becoming expert traders, understanding the intricacies of an ETF or a mutual fund. How about just the capitalist system? People don't know what that is. No wonder they think socialism's a good idea. They've never been taught that it's a bad idea. And when we do this, we set people up for their own personal retirement crisis. Is it more important to go to Dutch Bros and spend $5 on a cup of coffee every single day of your life? Look, you live your life the way you want to. I don't think a $5 cup of coffee is important to me, but it might be to you. But when we make these choices, and kids run around, I just don't have enough money, I don't have enough. Oh, baloney. Because we're not teaching them anything about putting a couple bucks away and being responsible and building up your own retirement account. I want the government to take care of me. That's what I see in this retirement crisis. It's a great opportunity for government. A great opportunity for government. Why not? Don't let a little crisis pass us by. Hey, by the way, I want to talk about what you want to talk about. Let's ring them up here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you prefer email, that's fine. Today's email address, however, so I can get it, okay? It's dave@petsofinancial.net. Dave@petsofinancial.net. Hank, you hang on. We're going to grab you on the backside of this break. We'll be right back. Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us. And please feel free to do so. I'd love to have you on. 580-5436. That's 580-KIDO. And, of course, also email dave@petsofinancial.net. That's today's. Obviously, Kevin has email as well. But I don't know. You know, he's got it under lock and key over here at this his secret corner over here. I don't dare touch. All right, Hank, let's go to you. Thanks, Hank, for calling. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I have two questions for you. First question, can the Chinese economy sustain a full trade war with the United States? And my second question to you is this, would not the Chinese economy grow quicker if it entered into free trade agreements with other countries and also in subsidies? Wouldn't their economy grow at a faster rate?
Eventually, yes, Hank. I'm going to start with the last one first. Free trade is a boom for all nations. Now, it's not for each individual company, okay, because sometimes you have very poorly run companies, and China has a bunch of them, right? Although they're rapidly changing that. They really are. They're getting rid of a lot of their state-supported companies where they just run into the ground. And they're really trying to change that in a big way and move from manufacturing to consumption within their country, which is a much more stable type of long-term economy. And so I think that China would boom if, in fact, that's what they choose to do, is to lower their tariffs. But individual companies will be hurt in the process of getting there, right? Now, as far as them falling into recession, can they sustain? I don't know. It's hard to say how bad a trade war would be, the severity of it. But the answer is no. We are so far, we're so much lower in tariffs. We're at 3.5%. They're at 9.8, 9.9 on average for American goods into their country. They need to come down. That's all they have to do. Who's going to say if they came down to 5, we have no deal? I think that's ridiculous if they would just come down a bit and become freer traders. Who says that they can't just stop stealing technology and that would be okay with us? That's all we're saying. And so I think a trade war is absolutely overdone. I don't think it's going to be as big as people worry about, but it is something to have out there as a concern. But I don't think China can sustain anywhere near the type of growth rate we can or that they need to. If they have an all-out trade war with us, they will lose, and they will lose big time because we simply buy so much more of their goods than they do of ours.
Yeah, I think that, too, that the Chinese economy needs to get the same thing, and it's going to be very difficult for them to do, is get the government regulation or the government out of the economy in China, too. I think that they have the potential of being probably the second largest industrial power in the world if they actually got away from the Communist Party, but whether or not that's possible is another question.
Very difficult. What you're really saying is, for example, those party leaders, right? They're really, in order to do it and do it without a violent overthrow, would be something like, you know what? I get to do whatever I want. I get to have whatever I want. I get to boss everybody around. I don't think I want to do that anymore. That's tough. That's a tough give up, huh?
Well, it's human nature. Power is kind of an aphrodisiac.
It is, isn't it? It truly is, Hank. It's the biggie, isn't it? Right? And so, I think it's a tough deal. I don't know how they're going to do it. They have made progress towards freeing their economy. We'll see what they do from here, though.
Yeah, I think that in order to grow, they have to do that. That's an imperative, whether they like it or not.
It is. They have to keep growing. Well, they do. They've got 1.3 billion people to keep happy, keep fed. They don't have enough women. That's another problem for them, and it is a problem. You have a whole country full of young men. There's something young men like to do with women, and they like to be with women. And I'm just saying that you have enormous emotional problems, angry young men, and you better keep them working and happy because otherwise you really could have a revolution there. Not just because of the women, but that's a problem. That's an add-on.
Well, of course, Chinese culture's always had where basically women have been aborted, or within Chinese culture that males are desirable, which is a factor. I don't think that they're any more inherently or it's just the cultural choices.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying because they did make the cultural choice. Yes, I'm not saying that they for some reason have more boys than girls, but they certainly have aborted many girls in the past, and it's coming back to say there simply aren't enough young women in China of marrying age.
Well, thank
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Our number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Max has a comment on China, but we're going to hold you over the news break here for Fox News, and we'll be right back. Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us. 580-5436, that's our number, 580-KIDO. Do bring us up. We'd love to hear from you. Again, I want to kind of follow whatever direction you want. I was kind of laying down a few things when we have time later, but again, looking forward today to talk with two really good friends of mine later on about business. That's Sylvia Hempel and Dan Long, both very successful business people, and to tell us about how they made the transition, if you will, from a tradesman, right? Like just doing the work to becoming a business person, and how different a skill set that really is. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. And, of course, also later, Reverend Bill Roscoe with the Boise Rescue Mission, because I can't miss an opportunity to try to highlight the amazing work that these guys do. And it is amazing work that they do. When you get to know these folks a little bit, like I have, and you work with some of them and talk with them, you realize this isn't just something they do. It's not something that is just a secondary thing in their life. It's a calling to go help these folks, to help the mentally ill, the people who are down and out, the people who are addicted to drugs, have been beaten up by whoever, whatever, everywhere, always in their life. They're just really beaten down, and to come work with them and come beside them. It's, wow, just amazing. Anyway, they're coming up later. Right now, I guess we're talking China right now, aren't we, Max? Is that what we're going to do, Max?
Yeah, we might as well. It's one of the few areas where I'm conversant.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's converse on it then. I'm not all that conversant on China, but I have my opinion, so go right ahead.
China's my forte. I lived there 15 years.
Awesome.
Just got back last, and I've written 2 books on China.
Well, I would say that is your forte. You tell us about China then.
Well, what you're talking about, China developing a consumer economy. Now, that's true. They've been working on it for over 10 years, and they do have the world's fastest growing middle class. But we have to define middle class. Their new austerity program is wreaking havoc in the country. In the city of Anshan, China, a city I'm extremely familiar with, city of 5.5 million people, they just cut all government worker wages by 45%. Now, of course, the minute they did that, property values tanked.
Absolutely.
And the latest thing, which only 5 days ago, a huge taxi riot down in the city of Taizhou in the southeast of China. All the cab drivers drove their cabs into the middle of the city, parked them, locked them up. Huge chance. And these are all complaints over, how rumors fly, right? The government doesn't have to say anything. We'll spread our own rumors. People are people.
Right.
Well, based on the rumors, this pork tariff that China threw on the United States, the price of pork went from 15 RMB, just call it 15 China dollars per China pound. Okay. And it went up to 21 over the weekend. And pork is a staple of the Chinese diet, as much as rice.
Well, it's about the only protein they have on a regular basis, is it not?
That's true.
Soy and chicken.
Pork
that's
and,
it.
Chicken.
Yep.
It's not right. The people are now rising up. What was it in the last year? I've been in America for a year, but I maintain constant contact with my friends and contacts.
Right.
And they're averaging 2 or 3 major demonstrations a month. 20,000 people in the city of Banshee. They derailed a train car.
Now, okay, so for those, this is not stuff I've seen. Okay, so I'm gonna toss back and say, how come we don't see this in the news? And number one, number two, why is it that China allows it? I mean, they haven't allowed it in the past. We all know Tiananmen Square. I guess that's a long time ago. But why are they allowing it?
Well, Tiananmen Square was a direct result of Deng Xiaoping. We call him the butcher of Beijing.
Right.
But I'll give you an example. There was a farmer riot about a year and a half ago. I was present, and about 10,000 farmers clogged the city. The police called out the SWAT team, but SWAT is different in China. They're black policemen, black uniform that is.
Mm-hmm.
They called them out. They set up a table, put up an umbrella, and the leader of the demonstration sat down and spoke with the chairman of the city council. They chatted, they talked about it. And about an hour later, it all broke up and everybody went away and the policemen got back in the buses. I've seen a number of demonstrations handled this way. In fact, I have not seen one handled violently. The one in Beijing. Now, I'll tell you why it's not making the news. In the northeast of China, in Liaoning province and in Heilongjiang province, this is up on the, like between basically Siberia and North Korea. It's the major iron and steel center for the country. But news doesn't come out of there. I don't see it in American papers.
Mm-hmm.
There could be could be the internet, which is really wrapped up tight. You know about the SinoNet, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
By the end of this year, it will be SinoNet. It will have cut off all unauthorized outside contacts. With a population of 1.25 billion, China can do that. But I just wanted to tell you that just the rumors of a trade war have the Chinese people upset.
Yeah.
The government's bluff and bluster, but the citizens, the men, the women, the business people are saying, don't you dare to the government. Just in this last few weeks, the government's been pumping a lot of money, and usually they tax the farmers. They tax them to the point of crying. Now they're just pumping money into the farms, saying, here's money, lower your pork price, kill the younger pigs. They are panicking. They can't keep pumping money into local private industry for long.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to sustain itself. You mentioned earlier on your show here that Chinese industries, the ones that run themselves into the ground, are being quietly eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
But that takes time. SOE, which is state-owned enterprise, SOE is a dying bear. It's a dying bear. Anshan Steel and Iron Group, employing 75,000 people, 50,000 in one city alone.
Yeah.
Chopped the wages by 45%, and now they're doing the unthinkable. They're laying people off.
Well, that would be a terrible thing.
That's unthinkable in China. That's unthinkable.
Would be. It would be. Imagine that. What do they need? Something like 1 million jobs a month just to keep up with the population.
Exactly. And
let alone layoffs.
They also need about 1 million women.
Yes, yes, they do. They do. Yeah, absolutely. Max, thank you for your insight. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for your show. It's a breath of fresh air.
I appreciate it. You have a great rest of the day now. Take care.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. And we got to take a quick break here. When we come back, Pete, you hang on, and then Cindy, and our number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I got to listen to Ray. He's got the control back there, so we'll be right back. Hello, welcome, and yes, thank you for joining us. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. That is our number. If you prefer email, it's dave@petsofinancial.net. We've got a very patient caller here. Pete, thanks for hanging on. You go right ahead, please.
Dave, yeah, one of the reasons I think that there is so little understanding of socialism among our millennials is that they learn nothing in college or school about what happened in Russia or what is currently going on in Venezuela or in Zimbabwe or other places where, as Donald Trump put it, socialism is succeeding, not failing, because it succeeds in making everyone miserable. The other thing that just really annoys me, the local newspaper published in Boise had an article last week on what the economy is currently doing. It was half a page article, and it went into the low unemployment rate, the fact that companies are hiring people without even a high school diploma because they need help desperately, how the economy is booming. And nowhere in that article did they mention President Trump or his tax cut. What they said was it was part of the 10-year economic recovery.
Yeah.
This from President 1% is the new normal Obama, but he's part of the 10-year, and it just absolutely infuriated me.
I don't blame you, Pete, but there's not. But we have to. We just got to dial it back because that's the way the world is right now.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it except not buy the paper.
I'm with you there, but you can't not ever watch the news. But it's not news. You know, they report if they only report what they want to report or what fits the narrative of what they want to believe. I'll give you a real life story in Seattle. It costs $12 million a mile for a bike path. Okay, and they've got a homeless problem off the charts. We'll talk more about that with Reverend Roscoe later, of course. But you know, they need money. But apparently, a bike lane is most important. They want to put one right through this business, an old fishing place, right? And so I know one of our wholesalers is part of this whole family. And one of the people in Ballard is one of the towns, if you will, or areas in Seattle. One of them, the city councilman is trying to run this path right through. Well, they're having a big party there and crab and of course free beer or wine or whatever, right? And they're doing all this. And then the councilman, of course, being a councilman, hey, he's entitled to free whatever is anywhere. He's not been invited, but he's councilman. So he goes. And here's what happened, of course. After a few minutes, the guy that owns the business went, I don't think I want him here. So he had him tossed out. And, of course, the beautiful, lovely wife of the councilman turns around and flips him off and says, F you fisherman. Okay? That's what she says. You know what the reporting in the newspaper was? The, of course, very ever-balanced newspaper, Seattle Times? For political reasons, he was tossed. For political reasons, he was tossed.
Yeah.
No mention of the fact that they were at war and the overly entitled person who never should have been there. What arrogance that is. It's like, I'm trying to kill you, but I think I'm going to come and drink your wine. Seriously. Who does that? And no mention of the lovely comments that the wife made. So it is really something, and that's what and they actually call themselves a newspaper. It's not. It's simply a whatever the narrative is, which is always lib. That's true, and you're right. It is failing our young people. It's failing them terribly because they never should come out of high school and college not knowing that communism is 100 years old now, and on their anniversary of 100 years, they have now succeeded in murdering 100 million people. That's what communism, that's what socialism is. And if you think Cuba's a nice place to live, why are all the boats coming this way? And if Venezuela is so wonderful, why isn't it working?
Yeah, especially since they have enough oil to pay for everything they ever need there.
They do, but because socialism doesn't. Socialism is corruption. It's no different than our own system here. We have to be careful of all these things, and I have to be careful politically, of course. But we have, I have a building in downtown Boise, not a big one, just a little guy. But I'm in the downtown CCDC thing, and so I get taxed an extra gob of money every year. And so a few years back, I went and asked what this was all about because I didn't see anything that was being done with these gobs of money times all of those buildings. And I come to find out that the several buildings, I don't want to point fingers, were getting $1 million and up so that they could put a facade on it, improve the outside of the building at my expense, right? I'm a taxpayer. That's my money. And so they could sell condos for more money.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, how is that part of the downtown development? And they said, if you put in this thing. Well, that's corruption. That's the definition of it, is if you take other people's money. Go ahead, Pete.
Yep. I love Maggie Thatcher's comment. The problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money.
Exactly. It's totally true. All right. We're not going to find ourselves in disagreement, Pete. You have a great rest of the day. Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
And let's go ahead and go. Cindy, you've been waiting forever. I'm sorry I've only got a couple of minutes, but you fire away, young lady.
No, that's okay, sir. Thank you, Mr. Petso. And I loved your opening this morning, and just to repeat what you said, which is so true. People need to save. They need to invest some way. And then, which I didn't do, which was, and then being very sick for a long time cost me, but then leave it alone. And, you just said everything with your last callers that loving this nation and literally in tears for my grandchildren many times that whether it be statism, the individual versus the collective, or as Dinesh D'Souza so profoundly I actually went to see Death of a Nation twice, and to write things down, and a lot of it was about the idea of this class warfare. You also mentioned something about confiscation, and when you start with the idea, like a Nancy Pelosi, I like the term you used, in thinking that, everybody else's money, I worked 2 jobs my whole life, but confiscating other people's money, whether that be in that movie Death of the Nation, in Germany, they were even taking down the communists, the fascists, and confiscating the money, thinking that the Jewish enclaves and people over there had something to do with what was happening within Germany. But for our country, Mr. Petso, and I so thank you, because it is in the educational system. I mean, not even having a proper understanding of the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and that, the Constitution, and how to apply it in everyday life. The young people are just coming out with, just you said, I don't think I ever had a class, and I have a master's degree, or anything about economics or stocks, or I knew from a Christian perspective I should be putting some money away. So thank you, because people are ignorant. It's like a dirty bad word, capitalism. So I see you, just like Kevin, out there trying to educate people to be practical and to be able to push back at all this that is out, that is really, as Mark Twain said in Florida, it was Mark Twain in the American Pavilion, this nation is getting taken down from within. So bless you for being out there. And I don't know how, with the left always genning up this class warfare, it's not money.
It's power. It's all about power. It's all about power. It is always all about power. Cindy, I'm sorry you hear the music. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you for being here. Just keep on keeping on.
All right. You have a great rest of the day. Thanks. All right. That is of the music, of course, and we are heading into the second hour, and we are going to be talking in that hour with Sylvia Hempel and Dan Long, 2 super successful business people in the second half. First half, we do want to continue our dialogue with you at 580-KIDO. We'll be right back.